What is up, guys? It is Thursday, July 16th, I think. Yes. And today's the big day. I mean, we finished a shit ton of work today. We got a shit ton more to do, but how do we reward ourselves on a day like today? How do we reward ourselves? Um at the peak of the summer. And there's only one way with a Christopher Nolan movie that is white culture. We love that stuff. We love every Christopher Nolan movie, and I'm not coping. I'm not coping. He's never let me down before. Remember, I'm the guy who says all of them are perfect. There's no way this one's gonna. There's no way he's gonna fuck this one up. Anyways, so today I'm going to watch the Odyssey. I have not watched it yet. And it's rough because when I look at my movie going experiences, some of the best movies ever I missed in theaters, and that kind of always hurt me because in a weird way, you're gay if you're a movie buff, but you're also a depressed bitch if you don't know what's going on in Hollywood. Because whether you like to admit it or not, Hollywood transformed who we were as children. Like, oh, I don't watch Hollywood movies. Okay, sure. Have you seen Troy? Yes, I have. Everyone's seen Troy. And Troy is about Brad Pitt. It's not really about Achilles. It's about Brad Pitt. And look, you can make fun of Brad all you want and his acting. And, you could be like that movie buff guy that goes, actually, the acting range ain't that. Dude, that's Achilles, right? When he plays Achilles, that's Achilles. And the acting is like, I get that it's not his forte. He's not like a Leonardo DiCaprio level actor that can make us shed a tear almost, right? Like for Leo movies, you really want him to win. Whether he's good or bad, who gives a fuck? You really want Leo to win. And then for Brad movies, it's like whatever. Nobody really gave a fuck. That Achilles dies. It's kind of more like a movie's more of a perfect song. It's just a song throughout your life that if you don't know what you're doing in life, you gotta fuck multiple bitches like Achilles. It's like totally warped. Young men. I remember watching Fight Club as a kid, and it had an impact on me, but it didn't transform me the way it transformed everyone. I see everyone on Twitter talking about Fight Club was the movie that did it for me. Zherka, Fight Club had to be the movie that made you want to do manly shit. And I'm like, uh, it's not. No, it's not. Because remember, anything set in the modern day is very anti-Zerka. Zerka cannot even live in the modern world without potentially going to jail or doing fuck shit, crazy shit, or harming myself even, dare I say, right? So any movie or when we're looking at cognitive inspiration, it will never be something in modern times. Like nothing. 0%. Next stop, Willoughby. Not even 1950s. None of that. Right? That's all modern to me. Right? But Troy means ancient. Now, ancient is something my younger childhood eyes could easily be exposed to, and I fully feel it with the whole mass of my being. Achilles in the movie Troy captivated me as a child, which is interesting because by captivated I don't mean like I started doing badass shit after watching that at 10 years old or whatever. That's not what I mean. I mean like most people get affected to the point where they start doing crazy shit in high school. That wasn't me. Mine was really suppressed. Like the Achilles inside was really suppressed. And I'll make the argument that I was more suppressed than any other human on earth because it burst out of me. It burst the fuck out of me in every single which way. And it's so badass to have moments in your day where you go, that's some Achilles shit, bro. I almost went to prison doing this shit. That's some crazy ass shit. Multiple bitches, crazy ass shit, right? And then you look at a movie like Fight Club and it's like, I get the inspiration for the modern man, but to affect my psyche, it always has to be some kind of ancient or medieval or anything like across those themes. And the character has to be complex, right? Almost villainous to be relatable. Actually, let's just say full villainous. You know, like Jamie from Game of Thrones is a very relatable knight, right? He's an extremely because he's just conflicted in the world of matter, right? He's totally fucked up. And by the way, I was wrong about Game of Thrones. I don't think I've been wrong about many things for my pop culture taste. I think I have strong taste for correcting what I see out there, right? Like this weird, this beta male youth is obsessed, either obsessed with masculinity or the lack of. But it's like, what? You're either obsessed with being like a total masculine incel, or just hey, I don't need bitches. I'm a philosopher. I'm whatever. Or they just totally melted beta male bitches. And you see this in even the masculine types of you guys. I remember you guys sending me questions about certain fighters being cocks in the UFC, and that was weird. It's like, dude, you're fighting, you're doing some badass shit, and then you find out that a lot of fighters are poor, and that they're, which by definition means beta male. It's like you can't even make $1. And you can't get your life together, right? You can't do anything. You're just poor, right? Like that's how women see you. That's how you see yourself in the mirror. And so alpha in today's day and age of what Achilles means is outer and inner, if you're ever confused. It's like, sure, you should be able to go to the external world and fight and not be afraid of do whatever the fuck you want to do in this world. But also that inner world has to be conquered too, where you have to make money, you have to be successful. Which is interesting because in ancient times, who gives a fuck about making money? It was all outer. It was all beautiful. It was all conquer, Alexander. And it's just so unfair that we sit down and watch these ancient movies and don't realize that the reason why we're restless in our theater seats is not that we want to jump out into the adventure of the world. It's that we know that when we do jump out into the adventure of the world, it looks extremely different from ancient times. Where ancient times you go with your horse somewhere, and nowadays, sure, you can go to a different country, you could go do whatever you have to do, right? And you have to do those things. But there'll be an inner fog you have to go through as you're traveling these places. It's a very different experience living on Earth, consciousness wise, today than it was thousands of years ago. And so I make the argument that today requires more courage. This is why it's the Michaelic age, it's the age of courage. This is why this is the first time in history people kill themselves. Now, I don't want to ruin these movies for you, but you sitting here listening to this are a lot more courageous than the average guy during the time of, let's say, Achilles' story was real, right? Or let's say Roman or Greco-Roman times, which is so interesting when you think about it. The souls that incarnated today are going through a lot compared, and I'm talking about the average guy. I'm not saying you're more courageous than Alexander. I'm saying the average guy, right? And it's so interesting that we will all. I know tonight I'll go watch this movie and I'll have that restless feeling of external, outward, go, go, go. But in today's day and age, the strong Achilles type of person would have to gather their inner forces and be inwardly strong, that they dominate their life from that position. Whatever position you're sitting in, that's the exact position you have to dominate your life. In ancient times, that position would be you holding a spear. That would be the position, right? But in today's day and age, and it's brutal because I don't want to make this a whole lesson, but it is brutal what we have to go through. Everyone's saying, I can't sit through 3 hours and a half of the Odyssey. And I haven't even been on Twitter today at all because I don't want spoilers or anything like that. But I saw a few days ago, everyone saying that I can't sit 3 hours and a half to sit there. I'm like, dude, if you cannot sit alone without a phone, without the Odyssey playing, without any movies, without anything for 3.5 hours and not feel bliss the further the time goes forward. So let's say the first hour is foggy, the second hour more clear, and the third hour entering levels of bliss. And not in fantasy, not anything scattered. I'm talking about pure in between your eyes. If that's not where you're going in life, and a lot of you guys are, and you guys have such a good argument. I have so many of my students say to me, they look me in my eyes and they say, easy for you to say you have so much fucking money you disappeared from the internet, right? Whereas Sneeko has to go live to get paid, right? It's a different business system, meaning financial freedom. But before I'm going to use Zherka's logic against them. I'm suffering more because you can enter these levels of bliss because for you, you've got things figured out. When you look at this is, by the way, this is completely wrong thinking. When you look at someone who has things figured out, let's say you say I have things figured out, right? And I do for me, not for you. Um, when you look at someone, all you're saying when you're pointing your finger and saying you have shit figured out, when you're pointing at a person and saying that is, you're saying they suffered more. That's how they got to more self knowledge. That's all you're saying, by the way. We have to reiterate this that the people you guys are jealous of have suffered more than you. So if you want to go all the way, you should start being envious of our suffering. You should be envious of the suffering part too. Do you understand? It's like a lot of you guys don't realize why Sneeko has so much more money than all of you listeners. I'm not a Sneeko fan, but let's call a spade a spade. He shits on the average person. And I don't know how much he makes, but I'm just saying he's been around for a long time, right? Now, why does Sneeko make so much more fucking money than you? Because he suffered more than you. That's why he's considered an out there spirit. He's an outward energy. He's an outward force of nature, if you think about it. He's very outward in his world. It's too bad that he doesn't know who he is because it always shatters on him, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing in the long term, more pieces to be picked up. God made the system beautiful like that. But in the short term, it's like, who the fuck is Sneeko? Like, does anyone even recognize his opinion? Besides that, when he goes into Allah made me say this, man, imagine I said Jesus made me say this. That would make me sound fucking crazy, right? And here's the worst part is, I'm not saying this as a Christian. I repeat it every time just to show you guys true comedy is in the truth as well. Look at this. Jesus Christ is God. This is like the funniest thing Sneeko's going through because it's going to make him the strongest Christian in the future. But you can also see he hasn't. Uh, Sneeko has only entered his faith to focus on God punishing his enemies. He even said it recently, and he looked at Chad. He's like, "Chad, did I say it right? Why is everyone question marking me? Don't we want God to punish our enemies?" And it's like, bro, you're you're praying to God that He punishes Nick Fuentes for making fun of you for being a blurry with your vision. But aren't you? You know what's funny is Sneeko should really embrace being the flip floppy blurry vision guy. Like, well, what is a Sneeko? Nobody know. Who is a Sneeko? Nobody knows. If you ask Sneeko right now, he would say Sneeko is Islam, right? Which is insane, right? Especially if you look at from a biblical standpoint, because in a biblical standpoint, you're supposed to express your individuality through the life-giving, reaffirming spirit, the ever pouring spirit of the Christ within. But saying the Christ within is speaking through me, like Conor McGregor or whatever, whoever says it recently, they're not saying I'm a blank gray slate. I'm a Jesus Christ slate. They're saying my individuality shines with the life force energy because he's called the life, the right. But when you look at these Islamists, They cannot say God shines through me. They have to say other things. And it always cuts down their individuality and who they are, right? And eventually it leaves them into like just this, I'm going to parrot what I read, right? It's kind of like if I was to just parrot scripture, and people would be like, that's not Zherka. That's like some preacher guy. He's like occupying Zherka. And this shows high levels of fear too. If you're parroting shit all the time, and right, at least tie up your concepts and shit. And not to make this all about Sneeko, but I wrote down a note that I have to cover all these news as well, not just the Odyssey. But yeah, today I'm gonna make it fun. I'm gonna go look in the movie for who is Sneeko in the movie. I'm joking right now. This would be so fucking. That'd be so fucking. I think he's gonna be Achilles in this one. That'd be so fucking funny. But yeah, I'm keeping up with the drama with Nick and Sneeko for once. I'm not a few weeks late, and it's so fucking funny, dude. It's like adult first child. He's like lashing out like a child. It's hilarious. Um, I did make a tweet that I knew I'm gonna. I do this thing where people ask me, Zerka, what is your philosophy? I can channel Zerka and my life goes good sometimes when I do it, but what is your philosophy from your own words? And I'm like, that's so interesting because you're supposed to ask someone when they're like 65 years old. That's how I've always seen it anyway, right? Because we judge more on how someone lives their life than what they're saying or even what they're writing down, right? Even if they mean it. But I would say my life philosophy is the just do everything the opposite of Sneeko. It's like, I mean, I'll take you guys to the top of the mountain with this. All right. The deeper Sneeko enters his faith, the more he loses individuality. The deeper you enter into your faith, the more you should have a sense of I know who I am. There is the I am. But I guess focusing on Mohammed and his adventures isn't going to lead someone down this kind of questioning of the self. But looking into you don't have to be a Christian, but I'm saying you have to understand the Christian mysteries of the I am, like bare minimum. Even if you're like these idiots who just think it's an imaginative faculty, like a Goddard type, or and I'm not calling Goddard an idiot. Right? He did touch on like 10% of something. I used to say 50-50. I think it's more 10% because I really just like to open people's eyes towards an optimism because, a lot of people don't realize this until it's too late. Maybe on the other side when you guys are dead. But one day you will realize Zerka was not an optimist to be an optimist. He was not an optimist because it made him a lot of money because if you think about it, I was the same even when I didn't have money, right? I was still speaking the same with the same level of enthusiasm. So it's not a money thing either. Although there's an argument to be made that positive people make the most kind of gains in life, right? There's so many books written on it too, uh, that they connect more clues and stuff, but it's actually because they have less fog, right? And so this optimism towards life is not just to win. Some people use optimism towards attacking life head on to win more money. And it does work. Make no mistake about that. It does work. It does fatigue them too at the end of it, but it does work. And that's not why I'm an optimist. Okay. Some people are optimists because it's just what the crowd does. I saw it on TV and movies, and that's another horrible reason. No, I am an optimist because I received inwardly, through my inner strength, I received the good news. Even before I read it, before I knew what scripture was, deep down, I knew that, hey, in life, you make your own sandcastle and you break your own sandcastle too, right? And if you're going to look forward to certain fruits in your future, you have to go through the fog too, right? Don't pretend you haven't been here before. No, you are going to go through the fog and all of it, just like every hero, just like Achilles, right? Because remember, these myths are real. Every single myth, including dragons and whatever you want, whatever you love, these are more real than real. Have you ever heard of those guys who do DMT? Not recommending it, but they always say the same thing. They say that world is more real than this one. And what are they really saying? They're saying before the Vedas, before the ancient Indians that really saved our ass. Let's be real about that, right? Before before recorded history, when we enter the dreaming world of the Atlantis, for the Atlantean times, and even before that, to Polarian times, what we're really entering when we're exiting from recorded history is we're entering imaginative history, right? It starts to mix with imagination, and then deeper goes into sleep, which is the pure spiritual light that we see in deep sleep. That's why we recover in sleep. We don't recover ourselves. And you guys have to understand this, that all of these fantasies and myths you see on the television are either real or waiting to be real. But they are from such a long time ago that it really doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter to you guys because, oh, it's not real anymore. Well, you guys are in for, let's just say, all those movies where you watch an explorer go achieve a new type of vision and see higher worlds. Dude, it gets your life. Don't go unconscious when I say this right now. Your life is going to be more intense than the Odyssey. I'm telling you right now, these movies you have to watch with a certain eye, right? Just like when you watch Inception, you have to watch, oh, what it's talking about dream worlds. And that's kind of like what that Zherka guy talks about. Like kind of stuff he's been talking about since 10 years old. Oh, he's just crazy. You have to start seeing these movies with a certain type of eye. Now, I will admit that I am melancholic in nature, which makes me attractive. Let's be real. Men, women, everyone's attracted to a melancholic type of person if they're winning, making a lot of money in their life, right? And that's where all the poets and stuff go. That's where all those German idealism morphs into romanticism, and that's where things get really weird and depressing too. I don't get me wrong, I have that, but I'm bipolar. I don't know if I am, but just saying I can go one way and the other. And for most of the way I spearhead life, and maybe it's family raised, maybe that's just the soul forces I built up, or maybe both. But I have an optimism towards life. And when I say optimism, I'm not talking about natural optimism. I'm talking about something so choleric and powerful and fiery that I actually believe this Nolan movie is going to be a good movie. Now, I did see that everyone's, shitting on the movie right now, which is going to sway my opinion. I'm not going to spend too much time on Twitter. I'm going to wrap this up real quick. But before I've seen the movie, I made a tweet, never underestimate Nolan. And this is my optimistic side speaking. And it's honest because I haven't seen the movie yet. But let me tell you right now, I do not want to complain. I do not want to talk shit. I do not want to say anything bad because Nolan has taken me through a lot of points of my spiritual journey that I cannot explain to you how he filled those gaps in. He just did. And a lot of you guys are going to realize, whoa, certain movies come around at certain times in life that fill in certain gaps, and that's why they have a high demand. They nourish us, just like philosophy, just like theosophy and practical Eastern theosophy or Western, whatever it is, it nourishes us. We get nourishment from everything that's not food. And when we can't receive it from thoughts like this, we get it from oxygen. But we go for a run, we go for a workout. We eat air. We get nourishment from philosophy, theosophy, and activity. The lower form of nourishment would be considered food, which is too earthly for me to give a fuck, but I have to for you guys because none of you are born in February. You don't really get anything that's not earthly. Some of you guys don't. I mean, some of you guys are so stupid. Zherka, I feel something very different when I eat steak before I go to bed versus cereal. It's like, yeah, one is gonna bind you to more earthly energy. You fucking moron. You should be feeling every stimulus check should be throughout your day. Your coffee, your whatever it is, should self-knowledge eventually turns into knowledge of the spiritual self, which means the universe. But we start with the micro things first. Now, has my optimism gone too far? I agree with you guys. I know you're gonna say it. You've said it many times before. Zerka's too optimistic. It just works out for him. It's just, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you right now, this is the first time in my life I agree with the peasant class, you guys, the truth. I mean, the crowd is untruth. You guys are untruth, but this is the first time I'll agree with you guys. I am being way too optimistic for Nolan for this movie because think about it. What movie affected Zerka as a child? And don't think as a child, as a teenager, it affected me. No, I suppressed it until 21 years old. But what movie affected me the most? To the point where I had a kleptomania problem to be a badass. I had to be a kleptomaniac to be a badass. I never kept anything that I stole. And I never stole from people, which is so interesting, only from Walmarts and big corporations that had those alarm systems that made me feel like Achilles when they go, doot, 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 and I'd have to run away. And no one would even, what the fuck? It's like, what was that in me? Because I didn't want to go out into the world. I want to do other things. But that Achilles nature just ripped out of me, right? It's like when you need the world to call you a badass online and you have to flex with the money, with the bitches, and you have to show haters. It's almost like your spiritual quest is to make haters jump off a bridge. And which is funny because as soon as you make it in life, the first thing you feel for is the haters. You go, hey, don't jump. Actually, don't jump. Actually, I'm not really that mad at you guys at all. Actually, I forgot you guys exist, right? Which is probably even worse. They don't want to hear that. So has my optimism led me too far, right? Well, you got to remember, I grew up watching the Achilles in Troy, right, which is Brad Pitt, and probably the only movie where he acts good in because he's made for that role. And so this is the most transformative experience I've ever had with Hollywood is that movie, Troy, right? So I have to defend the Odyssey before I see it. Now, am I going to be the most bitter out of anyone who watches it? Yes, because the only reason I enjoyed Troy was for Achilles. Now, which is interesting because a lot of my friends and family love other characters. Boagrius, Agamemnon, uh, Agamemnon's brother, the names escape me, Hector. There's so many characters that affected people, emotionally affected a lot of people. And for me, none of them affected me. I remember as a kid feeling disgust looking at Paris, the simp bitch. And I remember Achilles smashing mad bitches and doing masculine shit that I never did as a child, right? No one took me hunting and crazy shit like that. So it was everything to me. I think my optimism will be transmuted into the highest level of negativity you will ever see once I'm done watching this movie tonight. I don't think there is a way for Ellen Page, whatever the fuck. There is no way that can be Achilles, especially after the Brad Pitt version. Like it's impossible. I think I'm gonna go away for a while, maybe for a maybe 10 years after watching this movie because you guys are forgetting the fact that This movie might be good in every angle except the Achilles angle, which would still be the greatest tragedy for me. Not for my buddies, but for me. And a lot of you guys don't realize that this is a huge life lesson you should write down. You should say that Zherka taught me this, that even when everything was against this movie, he still approached it with optimism. That means I can enjoy the movie. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. The next space I do about this movie will have more cursing and black magic and me wanting bad things to happen in Nolan than any other space I ever do in my life. I have a feeling things are going to go really wrong. And remember, and it's really hard to say this because if a streamer gives you 9 perfect streams that change your life, but the 10th one sucks, if Nolan gives you 9 perfect movies that affect you in certain parts of your development, but the 10th one sucks, is the rule we can hate that person? Or is the rule we look at the average man that produces nothing and say, you know, the average man is disgusting? Because to keep us psychically in the middle, we would have to focus on what Nolan has done for us, correct? But I'm telling you right now, this one's gonna get personal for me, and I don't let things get personal too often. I don't let in my average day to day life, I don't let things affect me that much. But when I'm streaming, I love emotional intensity just to get the viewer count up and everyone. And it fatigues you, but it's awesome. It's beautiful. Is emotional intensity and all perfect acting going to save a transgender Achilles? I don't think so. But notice how I'm entering this movie positive. See, I'm not angry right now. It's festering. It's brooding. And I think I'll do another spaces tonight or maybe let it digest and maybe tomorrow morning. And I want to tell you guys I love you guys so much, man. I just don't want you guys to approach life as in, oh, this movie sucks, this thing sucks, because spirituality is not what you've been told. Your life's gonna suck, by the way. Your life is gonna suck if you don't listen to me right here, right now. Everything your priest and your pastors tell you is not spirituality. Spirituality has certain things that focus on for modern times because you're incarnated in the modern age. So one huge one is boredom. Be careful with always cutting down things. I don't like this Transformers. I don't like this Dragon. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't the more you cut and you judge stuff, read scripture on judgment, by the way, you are killing your own consciousness. You're going to dimmer levels where you can't feel anything. And unconscious numbness you're gonna enter. That's and I look, and I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna be wrong. I'm not always right. I'm 90% of the time I'm correct because I don't use my own prophecies. I use my mentor's prophecies or people above me or people I've read. I don't use my own material unless it's for my experience. I don't mislead people by saying, hey, all I'm saying is look at the great, study the greats, right? The Stoics got it wrong, by the way. You can learn a lot from them, temperance and all that, but they got it wrong. There's an optimism towards life that Jesus Christ actually got correct, right? And I'm saying that because a lot of you guys don't believe in religion. You say you're Christians, but you don't actually believe in it. But I will always make the argument that forget the philosophers, the theosophists, the what. Just forget all of them and look at how Jesus Christ approaches the darkest part of Earth evolution, the Roman time, right? Go look at how Jesus Christ approaches that, and you will see that yes, you can get angry, but don't get off the middle. Don't lose character. Yeah, you can. There's times where things sway. There's even times for sorrow and crying. God cried for us. Don't forget that. And God cried in pain too, which a lot of Muslims confuse. How can God feel pain? And it's like, dude, there is nothing impressive about a God becoming man and tanking all of it, tanking the experience. Just, oh wow, all this whips and lashes, everything. Wow, yo, this hurts, and tanks it. And then just rises, and we're like, whoa, dude, that's so powerful. That don't move me. That don't move me at all. Like you came and tanked the experience. No, What moves man is knowing God felt every piece of that pain and existential dread that man goes through today, but infinitely worse. And so instead of tanking it, what you have to endure. And God did something different, endured without having a second of poison against us. Like, fuck these people, right? Not to make this a preachy lesson, but you guys have to understand that the guidebook on how to move in life is scripture. If that's too deep and heavy for you, then you can start with the stuff I teach, which is very lengthy. That my optimism is not optimism, philosophical optimism. Mine's Christ-like optimism, right? It'll still point you in the right direction. And a lot of you guys don't realize that it starts with these little movies and stuff. Like you guys love to, you never anticipate a new game coming out anymore. You're an adult. This is what adults do. Is this game sucks. This movie sucks. And you can learn this behavior from watching streamers because I remember the most views I ever got was saying things sucked. It's so much fun. For some reason, if you say everything sucks in person, nothing happens. But on stream, it's hilarious, right? If you say everything, if you make a YouTube channel on just saying everything sucks, by the time you structure your soul, it's gonna harm you. But by the time you've put a year into 1,000 VODs of saying everything sucks, and I mean like if you dedicate yourself to the bit, you say like this coffee mug sucks, this TV sucks, this everything you react to sucks. Not one thing is good. Where someone goes out of 1,000 videos, this person is the funniest YouTuber of all time because he's covered he's it's funny to humans because we know deep down what that does to the soul. It seriously harms the YouTuber eventually, especially if it's in jest, because in jest it becomes real, through repetition eventually. And it becomes compulsive where you say it sucks even when you're not streaming, which is the great danger. That's why I told people, that performative part of your nature that has to be shown. Oh, you're a little boring off camera, but on camera you're so funny. That's normal. Don't taint your soul with being the exact same person off and on camera. Don't do that. If you're the exact same, chances are you're damaging yourself through emotion economy. If you don't know what that is, think of energy in motion. You have certain coins in you. If you say things suck all the time, you're wasting a coin a day. You only have 10 coins to severe depression. That's how you should see it. And if you look at the saints and what they teach, you'll understand this immediately. And I use modern language to kind of bridge the gaps for you guys. So if you ever watch a stream where Zherka says everything sucks, don't think that's how I spend my whole day. Don't be an idiot. There's a reason I'm laughing, right? It's like a joke. Now, if you're doing it with real inward anger and stuff, that's very different. But I make an argument that they're both really bad for the average Zoomer, right? Or whoever listens to, stuff like this. Young people mostly, right? So have I snaked myself by defending Nolan and saying, hey, never underestimate Nolan? I knew I'm gonna lose this one. And I still tweeted it anyway, just to show my forward posture in the world that, hey, what affected Zerka's soul the most is that movie Troy. For you guys, it's Fight Club. For me, Fight Club didn't affect me at all. But nowadays, I see the similarities that you guys talk about. I get it, which is interesting. A lot of people say Zerka's the Fight Club cringe cliche, and it's like, no, no. I watched Troy, and it affected me. There's something about a guy waking up with two women to go do badass shit without being uh, an employee of a king. That it has the archetypal outlaw theme perfect. In my opinion, I'd make it more chaotic actually, but especially the theme, rising towards glory, where he speaks to his mother and all that, and especially when you understand how this story affected Alexander the Great, right? When you see the depth of this, you realize this is no joke. We have a right to get angry at Nolan if this sucks, and I'm not going to let it sway me. Okay, I'm going to judge the whole movie without the Achilles transgender part because I think that's more fair. Because I don't want 3.5 hours of a masterpiece level director to go to waste just because of a one bad scene. And then I'll judge the Achilles thing separately, and then I'll give it an overall score. And I have to get off this because I don't want you guys, I don't want any more spoilers and stuff like that. And I've been waiting many years for this movie, even before it was even announced, because I knew the next Nolan. I mean, they're all so strong. If you understand what Tenet is actually about and how to use it in your life to break the matrix. When I say break the matrix, I don't mean like what these people talking about it, these Tates and stuff, money and stuff. I'm saying perception. When you can look into the matrix and see something no one else sees, it's a horrifying experience because it makes you terrifyingly alone. But the badass smiles in that aloneness, saying, I will bring the world to a higher octave, even if it means they're all asleep without me. And if you understand what Tenet's actually about, that one is the big masterpiece, right? Inception hits a lot of the Matrix Dream World stuff. What pretty accurate, you know. It's pretty accurate, right? Um, yeah, I'm definitely gonna review all Nolan films. Like I have to get back onto. I have to. First of all, I have to make a stream on. Be careful with making your big dreams come true because your little ones all die immediately after that. As soon as I said, "Hey, I want," for my life, it's considered infinite amount of money. Especially when you think about, I don't have kids, I don't have none of that shit. It is infinite amounts of money, right? Um, yeah. As soon as I got that, I was like, wow, many years on Twitch, a couple of years on YouTube and Kick and stuff like that, and there is no urge to go back, like zero, which that's like a mini dream too, is like to stream and stuff because I love watching my own shit many years down the road. But when the big dream is getting solved, and I always make an argument that the biggest part of the labyrinth is to individuate, meaning to become every 5 years, Zherka should be deeper into that myth of Zherka, not of Achilles or anyone else, of who you are. And Nolan films are a huge polymerization process for me, a huge fusion process. I can't explain to you how, the Nolan fanboys are cringe in a sense that they're just in awe because it's Nolan. And then there's people who have a more deeper spiritual framework that have serious struggles in life, serious darkness about them, that they look at Nolan movies for just to see what reflects in the pond of their own soul. It's like, hey, this movie is for me, right? And that's why I love that he deals with problems of time, right? That's what it means to be human. It's like every day, summer is almost done, guys. You're getting old and you're about to die next year. That's how this shit works. If you think, oh, it's gonna be a long time from now, it's the only thing that makes time go long is living your life to the fullest. And if you watch Nolan movies, that's what they're about. They're always about living your life to the fullest, even if it means that last second you're hanging out of a window during an explosion, right? Nolan movies are like the biggest escape into the freedom impulse. You could say through fantasy, but I say it lasts and it absorbs and digests in your soul and becomes imaginative cognition. It aids you in the future. So I can't just write him off. I can't just talk shit about him. And Nolan also reminds me I'm white. If you really defend Nolan, you're really white. Right? It's kind of like if you defend classical music, even if you don't listen to it, you're really white. Uh, and that part. And I'm not saying like color is important, but I'm saying that's my higher nature because usually I'm just like a nigga. I'm usually doing nigga shit. I'm always at a 7-Eleven with some dumb hoe. That's my life story. Is I'm at a 7-Eleven with some dumb hoe, and I'm asking myself why I like her more than the girl I'm with. And usually she's prettier, but she has more mental problems. And it's that storyline that I didn't have that storyline as a kid. Some of you guys as a kids have it. I'm not being weird. You do. Some of you guys as teenagers, some of you guys as young adults. I never had that storyline. Not even as an older adult, but as an ancient adult, that storyline is that romance thing of like getting Helen of Troy outside of 7-Eleven. That has to be fulfilled for me. And I've always know, you use a girl to build more self knowledge too. Like you could see when you light up talking to her, and usually I light up talking to her when I'm telling her about a Nolan film. So it's very hard for me to just attack Nolan off rip. Will this mean the divorce of my relationship for Nolan? I don't know how I want to see the world. It's like if you give me 9 masterpieces, but the 10th is shit, can I cut you off? But if the 10th is for you winning some Grammy or an Oscar or whatever the fuck they're called, if that's the reason you did it, I do feel a sense of betrayal there, especially because you're rich as fuck. But again, Nolan's like a very highly individuated incarnation. He's moved the world with his Christ impulse of doing what he loves to bring us to a higher level of consciousness. So it's really hard for me to attack the guy. But this might be my last straw. This might be the last time I ever talk about Nolan because I'm the type of guy that when I get burnt, oh, it is bad. Dude, ask any ex I've been with. They go, oh, he smashes me. He has fun with me. It even feels like he loves me. But he never chased me. I don't know what the fuck happened to him. He was so different when he was 23. And it's like, if you have 1 year of adding stress to my life, I'm about to pop off. I'm telling you I'm about to pop off, and you don't believe me. It's not that I hold a grudge, it's that we are on different wavelengths. And that's totally fine to admit. But I always feel burnt when I'm on a different wavelength than another human being. Like, have you ever noticed every human being does Zherka shit, but they're just years late to doing it? Have you noticed everyone is trying to talk like me and they're trying to sound like me? They're all doing this, what is this called? This psychology spiral. And I'm like, dude, this psychology spiral starts with self-knowledge. Don't focus on what Zerka's focusing on. Focus on what you need to focus on, little boys. And I'm like, damn, if everyone's always late to where we're trying to go in the universe, well, who is before Zerka? I make the argument Christopher Nolan is before me because he helped me. That's a great way to look at it. I'm gonna see you guys in a bit. I'm gonna watch the movie tonight. I don't know if I should have popcorn with it. I haven't ate today. I might starve and just make that like yeah, I might make that my first meal. That would be great. Might get some Coca-Cola with sugar for once in a blue moon, right? Because I've been waiting years for this. And it would make more sense to be more awake. And it'd be the first time I break my rule of having caffeine at night. I'm damaging my sleep world for this. Um, I also have a ritual where I exercise all the thoughts out of my mind, right? dzerkofficial.com to get on board with me. And yeah, I'm gonna blank slate hit this movie. Um, and I did buy up many seats just for me, just so no one sits next to me. And that's not just being royalty in my head. It's more like I have to transmute the pieces of this story that I watch to my audience so they could go further in there. Dude, people are fighting. Some people lost their mom. Some people lost their dad. Some people lost their minds. Humans lose a lot. I have to transmute reality for them. I can't just watch the movie like a passive little bitch like you people. So this is a huge thing I'm going through today. It's a huge thing. And that's why I told people, hey, the second time I'll watch it with friends and whatever, but the first time it's like, fuck off. And I'm really stoked. Why? It's not just years of waiting for this, but this is what will define that not July, but the whole year. The whole year will be defined by this movie. And you guys don't understand that once the movie bleeds into, like, for example, how many of you are not going to watch this movie And it's going to be all around your thought forms. You're going to know everything about this movie more than people who watched it because the thought forms are going to bleed into you, all around you. Have you ever been driving through a parking lot at Walmart and you're like, I feel sad all of a sudden? You're going through a thought form right there at that fucking parking lot of where someone got shot and stabbed. Okay? So don't think it's not going to bleed into you. Do I think you guys should give Nolan your money? Yes, 100%. Buy 2 tickets. Give him all your money. The level of inspiration one movie gives a human being versus what it costs is so gross and disgusting to the movie creator that in a perfect world, I would just shoot you guys all with a gun in a video game. It's a joke. But I'm telling you right now, like one movie, think of your favorite movie, can give you 20 to, I make the argument, 80 years of inspiration, even in faint ways. 80 years of inspiration for a $25 ticket? And you guys want to miss this movie? Shame on you guys. So, this is my lesson on being an optimist. I'm doing it even when it hurts. I'm doing it when my hero is transgender, right? And my impulse to become a hero is this hero. This can't go wrong for me. It's going very wrong for me, but I'm choosing to remain positive. Now, why do I get so exhausted doing this? I do get exhausted because it's a 3.5 hour movie. I have to be an optimist for 3.5 hours. And the Zherka troll nature, the lower nature, the more Nietzschean criticized nature, right? Not the higher, elevated, angelic Kierkegaard nature. The lower nature is gonna say, fuck this shit. And and I think the next space I do is gonna be one of the most violent spaces of my life, verbally, of course. But I'm gonna enjoy the movie first, right? I'm gonna watch it like those people who are fans no matter what. Okay? Because that's the only way to approach art, right? That's the only way to approach it. Oh my god, there's Travis Scott in the first scene. Oh my fucking god. Optimism.